Sometimes it is hard to start writing about something you care about. Perhaps it is just a nostalgic sentiment left from all the countless hours I spent in the worlds built by Bethesda Game Studios. Whatever the case may be, the fact still remains that they produce games that are at the top of my all-time favorite game list. Especially two entries in the Elder Scrolls series, Morrowind and Skyrim. Hell, Skyrim was probably my number one before I have tasted Elden Ring. I spent there over 500 hours in a single playthrough. It is really amazing when I think about it. They gave so much to so many people, and yet here we are today. After the flop of the online game service named Fallout 76, I thought it can't get any worse than that. Actually, I enjoyed some of the hours in that abomination of a game, because I played it with my good friend, so we were up to some shenanigans of our own design. Actually, if not for a terrible card system that took place of a character development, I would say I rather enjoyed the flowed gameplay and exploration there. Maybe I just heard one too many of Todd's lies, and I was still under his spell at the time. Who knows?
All of this just works. I'm not kidding.
To not prolong the intro, I'll just say that I went into Starfield filled with naive hope, that it is not as bad as so many people say, and that I will have a good time playing the game. Oh boy, was I wrong. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning. The introduction sequence of the game is very atmospheric. I was really pleased. It gives you the promise of a grand space adventure with many secrets to uncover along the way. I really had a good feeling about all of the things to come, even if it sounds all silly now. What we got involved ourselves into is for now beyond our comprehension, so we're gonna use all the help that we can get, and there comes Barrett and his colleagues from the Constellation organization. From about this moment we can see the cracks that begin to show, because it makes no sense that the boss of the organization is ready to follow you after knowing you for about 10 minutes. Later on, we will get to know even more nonsensical facts about the game world, like where galactic-sized organizations have only 10 or 12 total members. I mean, it was fine when the Bethesda game was contained in one not-so-big province, but when you have a big chunk of galaxy to explore with dozens and dozens of colonized planets, it all looks silly. The overall feeling that accompanied me for the whole game was that of a world being very fragmented. It has no feeling of a great vast map that interconnects so many places, people, creatures, adventures. This open Starfield feels empty. You don't even get attached to any particular place, because you are ping-ponging all over the settled systems. It is really sad, to be frank. At this point I hoped that the random events along the way will hold the candle to brighten these dark times, but I was wrong again. They often don't make any sense, like ships calling Mayday near the authority vessels that would help them, but they are waiting specially for you to decide their fate. Well, at least we get some references to the pop culture, like missions clearly inspired by Alien movie series and even one mimicking The Silence of the Lambs. Well, at least we get that to enjoy. I don't know how they manage it, but the characters that accompany you in your journey through the stars are even worse than in previous Bethesda entries. They only pretend to know you, to listen to you. They forget who you are and your story faster than you can say, "That did it again." I thought companions' characters to be very uninteresting. I had no favorite for teaming up, so I just left it untouched and rolled with whomever game assigned me automatically for the mission. To my surprise, it got even worse when I lost one of them, and I figured out that he was the only one tolerable in the long run. Oh my goodness, what a disaster. When it comes to the character that I roleplayed as myself, strangely enough I was a soldier, an explorer, a pirate, a ranger, a mercenary, a bounty hunter, all at the same time. I think the guild system from Elder Scrolls series doesn't really work here at all. For a second I had hope, because I thought Vladimir seems to be interesting, but it turned out that all he talks about is lifting weights and the Black Sea of space. Oh jeez Louise. Remember how I said that I lost one of the companions? As it often is in RPGs with so many plotlines and quests, some things just don't add up. When one of the important characters in game dies, many NPCs talking like the before mentioned person was still alive and thriving. I found it very annoying and immersion breaking. And bloody hell, is there not one person in Bethesda Studios that knows how accents in human beings evolve? This is ridiculous and even awful at times. Feels to me like a nightmarish farce brought to life. I'm not even gonna present any examples here, you need to play this for yourself to feel on your own skin how bad it really is. Okay, so let's drop talking about the characters and let's focus on the locations for a moment now. Human settlements are not terrible. I like those of more western frontier style. And Neon City reminded me of Cyberpunk. Spaceports are as one would expect them to be, very fine job here. Although Mech Graveyard is a disappointment in two ways. First, we do not get to see mechs in action, and second, who the hell and how put all those mechs in a pretty small cave? Such a waste of potential. And I call fail on another one. New Atlantis Spaceport is devastated during multiple quest chains, and it's brand new after a day or two. Like, what the hell? Logical cohesion, anyone? Okay, I vented for a second there. Let's get back on the track. Still, some locations are very impressive. Much good work went into designing them. I was particularly impressed by the Nira world. I could really believe the story behind the place, and that means a lot to me. Unfortunately, the world of Starfield consists of very fragmented spaces. You can explore unknown points on your scanner to get into some exploration and hidden side quests, but it is nothing very gripping, and before mentioned fragmentation makes the places less tempting to explore. It lacks the glue of cohesion that hold together previous Bethesda game worlds. What's next? Ah yes, missions and quests etc. They are not very original nor exciting. I liked heavy combat ones the most, because shooting is decent, but one reward from quest chain made my day. I got new starship that was way better than my old one. That felt really good and meaningful, because my biggest struggle in the game so far was indeed the space combat, but more on that matter later. The worst thing about most of the missions that I partake in was that I felt like an galactic errand boy for the most of the time. And to add some fuel to the fire, the main plot felt like a hallucination or a fever dream of Todd Howard named "How would Skyrim play out as a space opera?" Oh my gosh, it's so bad. The only redeeming factor is that other big quest chains are pretty decent. I enjoyed the corporate espionage mission chain. It was a good enough story. I almost felt like in my day job. UC Marine quest line wasn't bad either. Reminded me of Aliens movie, while we were in Londinium doing squad-based operation. Crimson Fleet questline was pretty atmospheric, even if not very deep and intricate. That is all fine and dandy, but we need to discuss that big elephant in the room called the main storyline. And let me tell you this much, it sucks big time. The temples we encounter in main story are uninteresting and repetitive. You need to do the same prolonged minigame in each of them, very disappointing. To make things even worse, you need to upgrade the length of your graph jump in order to progress the main quest. What a boatload of crap, I was furious. Well, at least final mission was decent. Good atmospheric surroundings and scene well made to tell the story of what happened before you arrived. A lot of combat too, that's good. But after a little bit of good enough gameplay, it all falls flat on its face again. Presentation of the consequences of your choices in big quest chains at the end of the game is lackluster to say the least. It was done way better in 90s, in first 2 Fallout games. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's just leave it at that and let us talk about the gameplay. After testing every setting, I decided to play the game on normal. Enemies did too little damage to me, but I played the tank build as I usually do. On higher difficulties it takes too long to kill enemies, so there is no good option here really. Combat is decent, good enough for a Bethesda RPG anyways. Shooting feels good, yeah, I dig it. Maybe the combat is actually the best part of the game, because I had most fun during heavy combat missions. I'm getting strong Fallout 4 vibes here. More of a shooter than RPG. When it comes to enemies, well, now instead of Deathclaws, we got Terrormorphs, which are not very fun to fight. Overall, enemy variety is not great, so when it is fun to shoot different weapons, there is no challenge from the AI really. Some of the battles you're gonna fight in the conversation window via persuasion system, which is really bad and unnatural. Reminds me of Oblivion dialogue minigame. Yuck! What we're gonna do more than anything in this game is traveling and traversing. Let's start with the fact that navigating interface, your character panel, maps and inventory is pain in the backside. I did not expect Bethesda can do it even worse than in previous titles, but I guess they perfected the craft. You get annoyed on every step when using it. There is no indication in quest log about difficulty level of a selected quest, so you need to check on the map if a sector that you wanna visit ain't too high a level for you. So finally, when we get out of all those cursed maps and menus, we got to actually pilot our vessel. But here lies another problem. I do not like spaceship steering, it has nothing to do with real physics, and spreading your power to different systems is an antiquated mechanic in my opinion. And why the hell I have to add power points to grav drive every time I make a grav jump? This is madness, but still it is better to fly that ship than to teleport all over the known universe from the map interface. It is the most immersion breaking thing I have seen in recent years. Whose idea was that? Yes, I prefer it way more to go everywhere from character's perspective than to interact with that horrible map. Overall, traversing anywhere is bad. In buildings there are too many loading screens and outside you don't even get to use any land vehicles, so you need to go on foot to the remote points of interest. Or, if they are really far away, you get to enjoy another portion of your favorite loading screens when you travel to them using your spaceship. Even though I thought space battles were not very good, I was longing for more random hostile encounters when traveling through space. There was just not enough, it felt empty and lonely. Wait a second. And by the way, 0G movement sucks in this game. What I enjoy in this type of game is looting. Oh yes baby, give me that booty, arrgh! Excuse me, I got myself a little too excited there. But guess what? They somehow managed to spoil that part of the game as well. There is simply too many items that you can pick up and add to your inventory, where the space in your backpack and cargo hold is very limited. That's not a problem I thought, I'll just use command line to solve that problem just like I've done in Skyrim. However, when looting items from dead enemies, you have no idea what you're getting, unless you memorize what is what exactly, like what in the name. Okay, so you can alternatively press a button and go to the full screen window to interface to make it an informed looting, but it throws you out of immersion again. and looting all the wreckages after the spaceship battle is long and awful. Damn you, Todd. In order to underscore all of the previous flaws of the looting system, vendors have very limited money for you to sell them stuff to. So have fun with that. From other game mechanics. Wait time is absurd, it counts down very slowly, wasting your actual time in real life. This is maddening. Stealth is really bad here as well. Even developers responsible for missions knew that it would not be good at release, so quest NPCs tell you to leave your companions behind when you go on the mission that requires stealth. Just brilliant. At least the progression system for your character is not that bad. It's another version of a similar thing that we had before in Bethesda games. You need to use something in order to upgrade it. The only problem being that the game counts the progress arbitrarily. I don't know if it was bugged or I was doing something wrong, but still it felt bad to not progress when I thought I would. To add some salt to the wound, let me tell you a short story. I bought an expensive brand new ship and it turned out that I cannot use it because I have not invested skill points into piloting. Great. So how about technical aspects of Starfield? Have Bethesda Game Studios shocked the world by revealing their brand new game engine technology that will drive forward their upcoming titles? Hahaha, of course they haven't. Don't get me wrong, game looks great in many places, most likely due to excellent lighting and shadows, but it all breaks down when you take a closer look. Some effects are clearly of lower quality, for example exhaust fire and smoke when ship is landing or taking off. Faces and beards look oftentimes very bad, oh gosh oh man. The beards go ugly real fast when the level of details is going down as you move camera away. Terrifying technology by Bethesda again. Anti-aliasing kinda sucks in native resolution, lots of shimmering on some edges and nets. Turning on upscaling makes it even worse. Conversation scenes look outdated as hell, as camera keeps jumping from one person to another when they talk. It is really bad. Game is not very well optimized. I played on the mix of medium and high settings in order to get playable performance. Still, music is very good, very space-like if you can call it that. Reminds me somehow of Star Wars movies and games, even if the style is much different. I don't know, there is something about it feels nice and familiar. Still, it sometimes reminded me of the music from Fallout 4, very strange indeed. Overall, sound and voice acting is on very high level, so that's good. However, they still manage to mess it up a little bit when several NPCs are talking with high volume at the same time. It is most common when piloting your starship. One of your companions tries to say something clever while outside communications are coming in. Very annoying. But what would be a Bethesda's RPG without a plethora of bugs, huh? For your enjoyment you can watch plentiful of YouTube compilations that consist of nothing else but them. So I'm gonna mention only those game breaking that interfered with the choices I made along the way. Firstly, game crashed to desktop only once, so that's a little bit comforting. But the thing that got under my skin the most was when my companions started to hate me because of bugged quests. I'm not gonna go into the details, just let me say it involved closed doors and a crazy civilian killing herself by damage reflection and incineration, which were passives from my gear. Bloody hell. Another one that made me angry was when sometimes NPC brings you into automatic dialogue and then go away, so you are stuck in loop until you quick load or force game to close. That was really bad, so I used console command to skip some quest fragments. Oh well. I don't think I really know what to tell you that you don't know already. It is all true, Bethesda RPGs are getting worse and worse with every release. Where disappeared the magic that hooked us back in the Elder Scrolls series? Why is Tothoward lying to us time after time? This is truly maddening. What was once a bastion for gaming escapism is now a sad awakening into the reality that we never wanted. I obviously cannot recommend Starfield. It is just a faded shadow of a formula that simply doesn't work in the new setting. I just hope that another RPG from Bethesda Game Studios will be the redemption arc that is needed for both us and them. But it's still gonna be many years before we find out if that will come to pass. With a sadness in my heart, I bid you farewell, and I will see you in the next Great Late Review.